I'm talking about creating a goal. It's a goal that is kind of the impossible. You don't know how to achieve it today. Not that it's impossible to achieve. Nobody can achieve it. That's different. Hello and welcome to Pillars of Wealth Creation, where we talk about creating financial success with a special focus on business and real estate. I'm your host, Todd Dexheimer. Now, let's get to it. Hey, welcome back to the show. I'm your host, Todd Dexheimer, and I want to talk about something that I just saw recently. And I don't know how true it is, by the way, so you got to fact check me here. But I saw that the millennial generation, which are people basically that are, right around 40 right now. So the millennial generation holds only 4.8% of wealth. Um, that compares to when you look at the same time, the baby boomer generation was that kind of same age, which again, millennial generation, 43, maybe 44, down to what is it, like 30 ish. I'd have to check the exact number, but that's about who they are as far as age right now. And if you take the baby boomers when they were the same age, that same generation, and you take really the generations around them as well, and even after the baby boomer generation, when we look at those generations, they held a lot more wealth during that time. I think the baby boomer generation I saw held right around 25% of the wealth. Gen what is it? Gen Z? What? I can't remember. What's the generation between baby boomers and millennials? Anyways, they held like 17%. I believe the silent generation held right around 18, 19%. And so the baby boomer generation is really far behind as far as holding wealth. And they're probably going to inherit a lot of wealth, but that's different, right? They're going to inherit wealth from their parents, the baby boomers, their parents that have created the wealth. So that's a lot different. And some of them that'll get passed down even to the next generation below, depending on when exactly the baby boomer, their parent ends up dying. So the big difference is in my mind, is there's an employee mindset with the millennials. The millennials were taught, and I was taught. I mean, I'm technically a millennial, like I'm the oldest millennials there are. I don't consider myself one really because I don't feel I don't feel like I match the same as some of the younger millennials, but regardless, um, we were taught to go to school, to get a good job. We were taught that college was everything. And so the vast majority of people went to college, which I'm not sitting here saying that was a bad thing, by the way. Like, I think I think for most people, college is a good thing. I know for me, like I was just so immature that if I just would have went from high school to the real world, I don't know what would have happened, right? And going to college allowed me to mature, allowed me to become who I was or who I am today. So it was a good thing. And of course, I met my wife, which, that was a huge blessing. And, wouldn't have met her if I didn't go to college. And so life would have been a lot different. And I don't have any regrets. Like, I'm super glad that I went to the college I went to, and I met the wife, that I have right now, and have the kids that I have right now. Of course, those are all amazing things in my life. So can't take that back, certainly. But at the same time, I think it just goes to this employee mindset that was driven into people, into the millennial generation, of just complying, just going to college, getting your degree, working hard, and you'll get there, and you'll be okay, but you're not going to get to the big uh the big goals maybe that you have by just going the traditional route, right? Very few people will end up doing that. So I want to just kind of talk about, um, really just driving a different mindset, and that mindset, of course, being entrepreneurship. And entrepreneurship's been, which I think is great. I think it's a little bit sometimes maybe dangerous, but entrepreneurship has become really, really popular lately. And it's people like Gary Vaynerchuk. It's people like Grant Cardone, and I mean, man, you name it. There's a ton of big names out there that really are pushing entrepreneurship, and it's affecting the millennial generation, but it's affecting the younger generation probably even more. And I think this younger generation is very entrepreneurial. I hope that they continue to be very entrepreneurial and create amazing things. I see a lot of 20 to 25-year olds that are out there that are becoming real estate investors in my world, that are becoming, tech, that are buying businesses. It's really cool to see, and I hope that it continues. It's become very much more popular to be an entrepreneur. Now, one of the negatives, I think, um, and maybe it's not a negative, maybe it's positive. People will figure it out. But one of the negatives, I think, with social media and what it's done is it's almost created this celebrity type for being an entrepreneur, and it doesn't talk about, it doesn't talk about the risk. It doesn't talk about the things that will go wrong. It doesn't talk about that, so people are prepared. So that's the thing I worry about as well. Are these kids thinking that it's just this easy life and they're going to get rich? And are they only doing it to become rich? And then when things go wrong, what are they going to do? Right? Do they have the capacity? Do they have the drive to continue to go? Or was it just for the money? And of course, if it's just for the money, you can't, I don't think you can be successful, at least maybe right away you can be driven by money, but once you start to get it, you realize that it's not nearly as important as what you maybe thought at the beginning. And I just think if times get really tough and it was only about the money, it's going to be really difficult to continue to go. It's going to be really difficult to be motivated and stay the course, and then it's easy just to give up. So that's maybe my biggest worry about it, but maybe it's a good thing because it just drives. Of course, if you talk about the negative, it scares people away. So maybe you're just driving more entrepreneurs. And I think entrepreneurs are what makes America such a great place to be, is entrepreneurs are creating. And if you're successful as an entrepreneur, it means you've created value. That's just it, right? That's the only way to be successful as an entrepreneur, truly successful as an entrepreneur, is if you create value in the world. And hopefully it's a very positive value that makes great changes in this world, and in our country, and continues to improve people's lives. That's the best way to become, or that's really the only way to become a successful entrepreneur. Of course, you can sit there and say, well, there's other entrepreneurs that do all kinds of bad things. And I think that's very much overplayed, because a few bad apples do bad things, certainly, but wouldn't call them successful. I would call them not successful at all as entrepreneurs. So how do you get there? One of the things I think is we are very driven by our future. So we're driven by our future, not our past. If we dwell on the past, if we think about the past and things that have gone wrong, we are only going to get those same results, the negative results. But if we draw on our future and the possibilities of our future, then we can create some awesome things. Then we could truly create some awesome things. So if we can see ourselves in the future being something different than we are today, and we can see the impact that we can make, then we can truly start to make some impact, because you start to believe it. So that's one of the things I really think it's valuable to really see where you can go in the future, who you can become. and always be driving to be a better version of yourself every single day, every single year. And if you can drive your future to be successful, you can drive yourself today to be successful. So it starts with just creating some amazing goals. And what I think a lot of people will do is they'll create goals that are very much in reach, and it's easy to hit those goals or maybe even miss the goals. But even if the goal is like, hey, I'm going to I just bought 3 rental homes this year. Maybe it's 2 rental homes this year. Okay. And now I want to buy 15 or this year, or now I want to buy 30 this year. So that's a very linear goal, right? That is not extremely challenging goal. It's pretty linear. You can do the same thing you did before, but just do more of it. I When I'm talking about creating a goal, it's a goal that is kind of the impossible. You don't know how to achieve it today. Not that it's impossible to achieve. Nobody can achieve it. That's different. And by the way, that maybe isn't necessarily negative either. But this is a goal that is impossible today with the actions you've taken so far. Like you cannot just do more. You cannot just scale bigger. You have to figure out creative ways to completely change how you're doing things and become better at everything you do, but at the same time, implement different processes, systems, implement different thinking, learn new things, right? It can be in the same field. I hope it is, right? But if maybe you bought 3 single family homes, for instance, or you've been buying single family homes. For me, I'll pick a perfect example. Okay. I was flipping houses, and even getting to flipping houses, that was not linear thinking, right? So I was flipping houses, I was buying single family homes, and I said, how oh, I started, sorry, by the way, I started trying to go linear. I was just trying to buy some small apartment buildings, and finally, when I said I'm gonna buy a big apartment building, that was finally broke me out of linear thinking. I had to figure out how to do something totally different that I've never done before, something I never done before. I had to do a syndication where I'm pooling a bunch of people's money together. I had to go and just talk. I'm totally different brokers, right? Totally, completely different process. And that was getting out of this linear thinking. It was doing something that felt impossible at the time. Like it didn't feel possible, especially a couple of years before that. Like it didn't feel possible at all that I could go and buy now a bunch of apartment buildings. Instead of buying 5 single family homes a year, I'm going to buy 5 apartment complexes a year, like 100, 200, 300 unit apartment complexes. Linear thinking would have just kept me going in the same direction, just maybe doing more. And so create goals that are simple, um, but maybe a little bit impossible. Not a little bit, maybe impossible today. Something that you can't do, something that you haven't done. And don't create goals also that compete with each other. Like you don't want a ton of goals. You really want one big goal that you're going to go after. You don't want a ton of goals that you're going to go after. If you have a ton of goals that are just competing with each other, they're taking your energy, you don't know where to go, you don't know how to do it all at one point or all at one time. So, um, you know, your goal needs to be big, your goal needs to be different, but it can't be linear. It can't keep you going the same direction. So think of like Steve Jobs, the iPhone, iPad, one of those things, right? That was like the impossible. They weren't thinking that way. Steve Jobs, when he was thinking about the iPad, you know, put that goal of creating this machine that we all know today that at the time was just totally out of out of the realm of possibilities. Same thing with the iPhone. Like it wasn't even a thing. I mean, you're going to take this iPhone and you're going to have, instead of the iPods, uh, you've got your separate iPod, you've got your separate cell phone, you've got your separate laptop, all this type of stuff. He's going to take and put it all in your hand. And that just wasn't really a possibility at the time. um, I think another big, really big thing is just belief and optimism. You've got to fight for something bigger than you. You've got to take risks, and you have to have belief and optimism in what you're doing. So you have to really, if you're going to go for this big goal that is impossible, you have to have belief that you can do it. Like you just have to believe that you can do it. I think by I, part of part of it is just having this optimism, right? You have to be an optimistic person. Part of it's maybe a little bit of blind trust, that you're destined for big things. Like that you can do amazing things. So part of it's that. Another part of it's repeated success. So set yourself up to have successes and continue to use those for motivation. But I think a big part of belief and optimism is being prepared. It's the little things that you do every day. So it's not that you're just going out blindly and doing whatever. It's not that you're just taking these stupid risks and you don't know what you're doing. Steve Jobs just didn't like say, "I'm going to create this iPhone," and he was some dude that had done nothing, right? He already built Apple. It was already an amazing company, and they've already done a lot of things that were disruptive to the industry. And so it was just another thing that they were doing. So it wasn't that he wasn't prepared. It wasn't that he wasn't an expert in the industry. He was. Now you have to prepare yourself. So it's the little things you do every day that are going to count. But there comes a moment in time where preparation meets execution, and you can't allow the fact that you haven't done whatever your goal is to set you back. Okay, so you have to prepare, certainly, but you're never going to prepare to perfection. If you're prepared to perfection, you'll never do execution. It's just never going to happen, right? Those who prepare to perfection, you see it over and over. They just don't take action. They don't do things, and they're the most prepared person out there, but they don't take action, so they don't get the results. So you have to prepare, and prepare to execute, right? That's really important. And so it's most people are just obviously seeing entrepreneurs and seeing the success they have. They don't see the journey along the way. So definitely don't be fooled by that. But those who are having success have taken the the bigger risk, right? They have belief and optimism. They fight for something bigger than themselves, and they take those risks, and they don't overanalyze and wait for that perfect moment, wait for the moment to be just right before they take the steps. They prepare for the moment with the things that they do on a daily basis, with the knowledge that they create, with the people that they meet, with the questions that they ask, and then they step forward and take action. They know that what they've done will lead them to success. Um, and the other thing is too is they don't let those people that steal your dreams get in your way. And a lot of people that try to steal your dreams are people that really care for you, are really close to you, and they do it for good intentions. And quite frankly, sometimes it's good that they're around because they do make you think, and sometimes they slow you down a little bit. So you were about to take an action step that maybe was a little too premature, and they slow you down because they are concerned. But you can't let them stop. You can't let them stop you. That's where this negativity, this dream stealer comes in, and they can completely derail where you're going and ruin the direction. And it's a lot of times good intention. Again, it's good intention. A lot of times it's people that, a dad, a spouse, brother, sister, aunt, uncle, whoever, somebody close to you, best friend, whoever, somebody close to you. Not always. Certainly, there's other people that, I had a banker. I've told this story numerous times, but I was calling up a ton of banks, and this banker is like, "You're stupid. You're crazy. You're just you're gonna go bankrupt. You're gonna crash and burn like all these other people." This was 2009 or something like that, and she's just like, "This is what you're doing is stupid. It's terrible. Like you can't be doing this." Whatever. I brushed that aside. I'm like, I don't know. It seems pretty good to me, and kept on going. But my dad at one point in time, really questioned what I was doing, and am I taking advantage of people? He was asking me and all that kind of stuff, and it did make me think a little bit about you know what am I doing, and am I taking advantage of people? And my answer, after I thought about it, was no, absolutely not, Dad. I really actually am helping people out. It wasn't that long ago that I closed on a property, and I was at the closing with this woman who her house was getting foreclosed on, so we did a short sale, and I bought the property from her for pennies on the dollar, way more or way less, sorry, than what she paid for it. Way less for than what her mortgage was for. It was pennies on the dollar. I got a great price on it. And then I ended up flipping the house. But guess what? We're at closing, and she's like, "Thank you so much for what you've done." She's like, just so thankful. I can never repay you. This is so amazing. I'm so happy you came along and bought my house. So while an outsider can think you're taking advantage of people, the truth is that no, I'm serving a good purpose, right? This house was in total distress. I took this massive weight off this lady's shoulder, and then I took this house that was in need of major repair. She couldn't afford it. She couldn't afford to do anything to it. And so I took this house that was in massive need of repair. I fixed it up, and I gave somebody an amazing house. And so you have to think about, okay, yeah, what purpose are you serving, and how can you maybe combat some of this negative attitude that might be coming at you, and justify what you're doing. And again, but really think about what you're doing. Really take some time to think, and don't. Some people's ideas are crazy. Some people are just telling you, no, don't do it, and it's stupid. Like, okay, that's whatever. I'm not going to listen to you. But if they have good merit behind what they're saying, just listen, but understand, like, you can't let them derail you. You can't let them hold you back. But maybe there's some things you do need to think about. Um, so again, I want to recap just a couple things. So get out there, and we talk about goals. I talk about goals a lot, but I really want you to start thinking about the impossible goals. Like, what is it that you really want to achieve? Think about your future. Think about the future you. What does that look like? Who are you? Hopefully you're doing amazing things. I really hope that everybody listening here is going to do some amazing things. It's going to really benefit the world. Going to really make a major impact on the world. Whether and that might be, by the way, just running charities, donating, those types of things. It could be all of that. It could be creating an amazing business. It could be there's so many different ways you can make amazing impact, right? It doesn't have to be creating an amazing business. It can be so many different ways. But I hope that everybody listening, I mean, you're probably business minded, so you're probably thinking about the business, right? But you create amazing things. You do awesome works. And so I want you to think about that impossible goal. Think about the future of you and where you're at. Think about the impossible goal that's going to get you there, and create that goal. Write it down. Think about it. Pray about it. Decide if that's the step you're going to go. And then you have to figure out, how do you get there? How do you get to that step? How do you change the mindset that you currently have, the beliefs that you currently have, to get you to the next step? How do you prepare properly for it? But then you have to execute on that to make sure that you get to those goals. How do you have the belief and optimism to fight for this new goal that's bigger than you? Take the risks, not overanalyze, And also fight off maybe some of those dream stealers that are going to potentially get in your way. By the way, there's sometimes you just don't tell certain people that are going to be saying negative things to you. Like there's just a point in time where like you probably have a couple people in your head, like you can't tell them. Like I know I can tell my wife because she'll say some things that are maybe make me think, but she's always supportive. Like she's always going to allow me to go for it. She's always going to be there by my side, right? She may say, have you thought about this? Have you thought about this? I'm not sure about that idea, but I know she's going to put a positive spin. She's going to allow me to go for it, right? But there's also some people in your life that you might say, I just can't tell. And that's okay. And that's okay. So go out there, do some big things, create some big goals, create that impossible goal. Don't keep going linear. Linear thinking is going to get you similar results all the time. And you want to do something big. You want to improve your life. You want to improve the life of people around you. You want to create legacy. Those things are only created by thinking about the impossible today and making it possible tomorrow. That's all I got for today. You have a fantastic rest of the day. Make every day Saturday. Hey, thanks so much for listening. I appreciate you being a loyal listener. I would love to have you go on to our Facebook page and subscribe. Give us a thumbs up. Go on to iTunes or wherever you listen and give us a rating and review. Don't forget to subscribe. Your rating and review just helps us push this out to more and more people and continue to grow our audience and hopefully positively affect a ton of people out there that really need this and want this. So the other thing I've got for you is a free ebook on my website. So go on to venturedproperties.com, and download our free ebook on real estate and on syndication. And I've got some data points in there, some really good stuff for you. So I'd love to have you take a look at that. It's free. I'm not expecting anything from it. And also, look, if you want some help in multifamily, want some help learning, growing, getting your business off the ground, I would love to talk to you about what it would look like to work with me potentially and see if that's a good fit. So you can go to coachwithdex.com and check that out. And we can definitely have a call. Thanks a lot for listening. You make it a fantastic rest of the day. I'll catch you on the next episode.